right, now step 2 is determining what the proper harmonic rhythm is of the chords. Now, that's a fancy way of saying how many beats does each chord get. Now, typically, you'll find certain progressions and certain linkings of progressions will not go over the bar line, right? Or they will stay within the bar line, okay? A 2-5 progression, the D minor 7 flat 5 to the G7, that's a 2-5 progression. That normally does not go over the bar line. Almost never do you see D minor 7 flat 5 as beat 3 and 4, and then the 5 chord, the G chord, as beat 1. All right, so that's going over the bar line. You don't see that, almost never. And then usually if you do see it, a lot of times it's wrong. Okay? Now I just wrote out the harmonic rhythm of this just based upon 2 beats, back in step 1 I'm talking about. Just as 2 beats every chord. But now we're going to figure out that, oh, wait a second, it really probably isn't 2 beats every chord. Now I'm not saying that what I have here is absolutely right either, because I haven't even heard this song that he plays. He just sent me the chords, so it could really be just about anything. But if we use a little bit of common sense here in this step, we can realize that, hey, wait a second, that D minor 7, the G7 has to be in that same measure, all right, which is going to push the C minor to its own measure, and it's also going to probably push that B chord to its own measure as well. So what we have here is we have C minor 7, B, F minor 7, B, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. And then who knows what kind of song it is, but let's put on kind of like a little bit of a modern one. Turn this down a little bit. Put on a Rhodes sound. Okay? Now, let's just listen to the step 1 and the step 2. Okay, so let's listen to the one in which the harmonic rhythm is a bit, let's say, off, and then this one where the harmonic rhythm is a little bit more consistent with what you would normally find. 1, 2, step 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. It feels a little bit weird. That C minor comes right in on that downbeat, okay? So I think you agree with me that this step 2, this harmonic rhythm, is a little bit better. Once again, like I said, what you're looking for is some of these linkings. One of the linkings definitely is when you have a 2-5 progression, you're going to, and when I'm talking 2-5, I mean the minor chord going to the dominant chord, going to whatever, all right, like a 2-5-1 progression. Remember, it's a minor chord going up a 4th, all right, or down a 5th, however you want to look at it, all right, and then that dominant chord moving down a 5th as well. Now, the 1 chord, you don't need the 1, it doesn't matter. All you're looking for is that relationship of the 2 and the 5 chord. And remember, if you don't understand when I'm talking about 2-5 and all that, check out the analysis, memorization, and transposition lesson in the jazz piano site. Okay, that will help you out greatly with understanding these Roman numerals. All right, so you're looking for that 2-5. Now, another progression is the 5-1. Often you're going to find the 5 chord as the end of one measure or in a measure by itself, and then moving to the 1 chord in the next measure. Okay? Now, let's take a look at the beginning part of this progression. You see that it's 1 minor going to 4 minor, and I did it in the same measure. Well, guess what? It probably wouldn't necessarily be in the same measure. It could be one whole measure, each of its own. Right? So it could be 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what that just created is a 5-measure pattern, all right, or a 5-measure section. Now, you're probably thinking already, wait a second, that seems kind of weird, a 5-measure section, isn't it? And yes, absolutely, it would be weird. Does it mean you can't have it? No. I mean, almost anything can be, I mean, that can be done, all right? Doesn't mean that it's right, all right? But it can be done. So typically, sections of music are going to be even numbers. You got to take this with a grain of salt. This is typical, not always. And in fact, some people go out of their way to be atypical and end up doing, you know, these odd number of sections. But if we're talking about general music, 99% of the time, you're going to see sections in 4-measure increments, 8 measures, 16 measures, all right? Like the American Songbook, AABA, 32 measures. You know, there's like thousands of songs that follow that format, 32 measure songs, 12-bar blues, all right? Even number. So here, if I were to do C minor 7 for a full measure, F minor 7 for a full measure, and then B for a full measure, and then the D minor 7 to G7 to C minor as 2 more measures, that 5 measures is going to feel a little bit weird. So I put it as C minor and F minor in the same measure. Okay? Now, I could also do 1, 2, 3, 4. Guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2, 3, 4, 6, 2, 3, 4, 7, 2, 3, 4, 8, 2, 3, 4. Start it again, all right? I could do it that way. I can break it up however I want. What I would like you to do, this would be a great exercise for you, is write down a music. Now, it doesn't have to be staff paper. It can just be regular blank sheet of paper. Put C minor, you put a line on one side, put C minor, and put a line on the other side. So that means that it's 1 bar. Then over here, you put F minor, right, and then put another line. So there's 2 bars, okay? Now, you could repeat that again. So another C minor, another F minor. So now you have 4 bars. C minor, F minor, C minor, F minor. Then you can do B and maybe do it for 2 bars, all right? And then D minor 7, flat 5, G7, all in 1 bar. So it'd be D minor 7, flat 5 over here, and then G7 over there, okay? And then C minor, all right? Or do D minor 7, flat 5 in measure 7, and G7 in measure 8. But what I want you to try doing is take this progression, all right, and start to mess around with it to create your own progression, all right? It's a fine-sounding progression. Now, in step 3 here, we're going to start looking for some of these odd chords and see if we can maybe improve a little bit on this progression. Okay, so that's it. So I'll see you in the next step.